But I will say, Chris, do you take this woman to be your wife? Jenny, do you take this man to be your husband? Now the salt is everywhere. So I'm going to read this introduction to the significance of the salt, right? And then after that, there's a couple of folks who will read, two people who will read some verses. Okay? And then, so after I read what that's about, I'll step out of the way. And you guys can, okay, so let's go through that. So we open in prayer. We go through the declaration of intent. Often couples light a unity candle as part of the wedding ceremony. But Chris and Jenny have chosen to use salt to symbolize their unity. The salt, which they pour from two separate containers into one container, represents their two lives becoming one unified life. Salt also has spiritual significance. In Matthew, we as Christians are called to be the salt and light of the world. Along with the salt, the meaning. Bringing spiritual truth and hope to a lost and fallen world. Here, Salt reminds Jenny and Chris of their calling now as a couple to serve God and encourage one another spiritually. In the Old Testament, salt was often part of sacrifices, and the covenant between God and his people was many times called the covenant of salt. In the Middle East, they had the covenant of salt, meant to have a covenant of friendship. The two parties had shared salt, meaning that had shared. No, two parties had shared salt, meaning that they had shared. Had shared food, and this was a symbol of their friendship. This is significant by the phrases, signified by the phrases we have shared salt, or there is salt between us. Salt symbolizes a friendship between Jenny and Chris. Along with this, salt flavors food to make it more palatable. In the same way, love can flavor even difficult words to make them easier to swallow. Salt reminds Chris and Jenny to speak to each other with words seasoned with love and patience. You write this? Good job. Good. So, all right, I'll read it and I'll step out of the way. You're going to have the salt in place, and Joseph's going to read the verse. Right? So, are you going to have that memorized, or are you going to have it on a card?
I'm trying to have it on a card.
Okay. Yeah, just let us know. And then after Joseph, Verity is going to memorize or read. Okay, good. And instead of doing that, you'll pour in the salt together. When that's done, you just leave that there, right? So the containers down and you'll step back that way. Okay? And then there are some special readings.
No.
Okay. Is this a tally?
Tally.
So who's going to have the golden necklace? You'll have that with you. And you're going to have the chain. Do you have that golden necklace now? All right. So, as part of their wedding ceremony, Jenny and Chris have selected symbols from cultures that are close to their hearts. In Indian wedding ceremonies, brides are presented with a gold necklace called a tali, which is to be worn like a wedding ring for the rest of the bride's life. Chris will now place the necklace they have chosen to use as a tali around Jenny's neck. In Estonia, couples often place locks in public places, around park benches, trees, or rails. The lock is meant to represent their love, locked in place to last forever. Jenny and Chris have chosen to represent this aspect of Estonian culture through a lock placed around a chain, which Jenny will now present to Chris. You'll have that with you. Are you going to be carrying flowers?
I'll get them to her.
And you'll do that one? Just
when I walk.
your first one. Okay. All right. So then we move into the vows. And there's two sets of vows. So Chris, if you would repeat.